Guys, there's a huge chance that prices in the real estate market here in Utah are about to get slaughtered. We've seen interest rates climb pretty substantially over the last little bit, and I want to talk about how that's going to affect the market, not only right now, but also what demand is out there, and then how that's going to affect pricing as we go into the summer months. What's up, everybody? My name is Cody Steck, your favorite Utah realtor. I hope you enjoy these videos that we put out here on the channel. If you do, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also make sure to reach out to me. My information is here on the screen. Please call, text, or email if you're looking to buy or sell real estate here anywhere in the state of Utah. My team and I service the entire state, and we'd love to help you along your journey. So with that being said, we're going to jump in my screen here and take a look at this. So 30-year mortgage rates have been climbing substantially over the last couple of weeks. We've got to jump over here to the 30-year fixed, and we'll take a look at this chart and also compare it to 15-year, 30-year FHA, jumbo, and the like, right? So this is showing the last year. You can see that rates have climbed substantially from this time last year. We were at 5%, climbed up to almost 6%, then back down to 5% in August, but then had a huge climb going into fall of 2022 before falling back down to the low 6% range here, and then hitting 7% in March, and then coming back down. So over the last, let's say 4, 5, 6 months, we've been sitting between 6 and 7%. We saw a huge spike up here in March, but this was relatively short-lived. From February 1st here, we were at 6%, and then we were back close to 6% by April 5th, right? So almost a 2-month gap there where interest rates were up, but we've started to see them climb again, right? Over the last 2 months, rates have gone from that 6% range all the way up here to 7.12% as of today. So there's been a huge climb in interest rates, and this is very concerning for the market. We're going to look at what's happened to sales during this time and how this is going to be affected by the rates climbing like this. Let's take a look at the 15-year fixed as well, because we're seeing a very similar pattern here. Now, 15-year mortgages are generally at lower rates, but even then, we're still sitting at 6.5% on a 15-year mortgage right now, which is absolutely crazy just to see how high this is. If we actually come over here to the 15-year rate, was actually very, very low for many, many years, getting down to even almost 2% on some loans for the 15 years. So pretty crazy to see that. 30-year, we're going to see the same for the FHA loan. This is going to be almost in tandem with what we're seeing on the 30-year fixed. But again, these are slightly lower, but they do come with additional fees and restrictions. So an FHA loan is not always the best option despite having a lower interest rate. So something to kind of keep in mind there. Let's take a look at the 30-year jumbo, and then we'll jump over to looking at the market to see what's going on with that. So I want to go back here to the 1 year. This again also kind of follows that same pattern. We were hitting here at about 6.25 in November of last year, then came down to 5.5, back up to 6.5, and then now we're sitting at roughly 6.75 as of today. So interest rates have climbed pretty substantially, and you might be thinking, hey, why is the 30-year jumbo actually lower than the 30-year fixed? Well, that's because these loans, when they're a jumbo loan, are coming from private banks, right? They're coming from wholesale mortgage companies who are willing and able to offer a slightly lower interest rate than what you'd get from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, who are the government-backed mortgage lending companies, right? So these mortgage-backed lending companies are generally a little bit more cautious and conservative, and so they do have these higher interest rates here sitting at, like I said, just over 7% as of today. So pretty crazy to see that. One last thing, let's check out the VA. It's going to be very similar to these other ones, but again, we're sitting at roughly 6.75 as of today. So VA and the 30-year jumbo are actually very similar. We do see a lot of these same numbers. Now, the reason why this is important is because this is really going to drastically affect how much a person is able to borrow and still maintain a comfortable payment amount, right? So I want to come over here to Google. We're going to look at a mortgage loan calculator and just put in a rough, some round numbers here, and talk a little bit about what's happening with prices. So if you're going out there and you're getting a loan, we're not talking about the purchase price, right? Because if you have a big purchase price and a lot of money to put down, this is still going to affect you, but it's going to be a little bit different. Let's say you're buying $1 million home and you plan to put $500,000 down, you're still going to have a $500,000 loan amount. However, if you're buying a $600,000 home and putting $100,000 down, you still have a $500,000 loan amount. So as long as all things are considered, of course, if you have a 20% versus a 10% down payment, that could affect things slightly. But for the sake of what we're doing here, we're just going to use a loan amount of $500,000. So this is $500,000 on a 30-year fixed loan. And you can see here at a 6% interest rate, this gives you a monthly payment for just the principal and interest at roughly $3,000. We're just a hair under $3,000 right here. Now, if we go ahead and change this interest rate to 7%, that bumps your payment up to $3,327, an extra $300 per month. Now, in order to keep that same $3,000 payment, you would actually have to drop your loan amount to $450,000. So as interest rates have climbed up, if you're trying to keep your payment around that $3,000 mark, you have now lost $50,000 in purchasing power because of these higher interest rates. This is drastically going to affect the market because now you've got people who were looking at, let's say, $600,000 because they had $100,000 to put down, but now rather than looking at $600,000, they might only be looking at $550 because with that $100,000 down, they have to be at a $450,000 loan amount in order to keep their payments around the $3,000 mark with a 7% interest rate. So this can, really have a huge effect on the market overall. Now, I want to take a look at how this is actually affecting the market because here in the St. George area, we've seen some drastic changes. Usually going into the summer months is when we start to see sales kind of level off, right? If we look back here to 2022 and 2021, I want to actually change this here. Let's open up a couple more months here in 2021. You can see that sales kind of start to drop off, right? 156, 150, 133. They kind of hit this low going into early summer. We saw the same thing in 2022. We're at 174, 167, 148. But if we take a look at this year, we've seen sales drop off even more. And this is really kind of concerning. We're at 181, which is almost comparable to March of 2022. But now we're only sitting at 128 for May of 2023. Now, prices, again, are looking like they're going to be down substantially. We don't have a full month of data yet, so this is not comprehensive, but we're sitting at 509,000 on the median sales price. So something that's very interesting there. And seeing that these sales prices are dropping off and the number of sales that are happening is dropping off, this almost correlates exactly with what's happening with interest rates, right? If we go back here and take a look at what's happened in March and April, we saw April sales start to decline pretty rapidly. And that's actually in correlation to the interest rates that we saw here in March. Because if anybody was purchasing a home in April and that's when they closed on the home, that means they actually locked in their interest rate in March of some time, right? If we go back here to March 1st, let's see if we can find that here. March 1st, we were sitting at roughly 6.7%. We climbed up to almost 7% before falling back down to roughly 6.5% towards the end of the month. So we saw some big changes through the month of March, but that's when we had these higher interest rates, and therefore that actually caused downward pressure on April sales. And I think we're going to see the same thing going into the end of May and also especially into June, because anybody who's been locking up a home over the last 1, 2, 3 weeks is going to get hit with these bigger interest rates, and that's going to force a lot of buyers out of the market. So if you're a buyer in this market, you have to be aware of this. I think now is probably actually the time to wait a little bit before purchasing a home because interest rates are still climbing and we're starting to see prices maintain their level. We haven't quite seen the impact of prices coming down yet, but I do think that's going to happen. So if you're a buyer in this market, I'd say maybe wait 2, 3, 4 weeks just to see what happens with interest rates. If we start to see rates come back down to 6.5 or even the low 6% range, that could be your indicator to jump in. But over the next 1 to 2 weeks, I think things are going to be extremely volatile. And I'd honestly probably say wait because you're going to have a much better chance of getting a better interest rate if you just give it a couple extra weeks. So that's the video here, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to reach out to me. Call, text, or email anytime. I love hearing from you guys. I've had people from all across the world relocate right here to St. George, and I would love to help you as well. Or even if you're here locally, we can do that as well. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, I'd love to be your go-to resource. So with that being said, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one.